We all here on the uh, Herrera Recogno versus Venture General Agency case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
All right, that's good. Do you guys want this on the record? Usually we don't do summary judgments on the record, but we can if you want.
I don't need a record.
I'd like a record, Judge.
All right, let's go on the record on DC 25 uh 4466 Herrera Recogno versus Venture General Agency LLC. Counsel, make your appearances.
I'm Kerry Thompson for plaintiff in this, Mr. Herrera Recogno.
All right,
Brooke Osborne for defendant Venture General Agency.
you may proceed.
Well, Judge, Mr. Recogno is seeking basically summary judgment on whether or not he's owed a defense by Venture General Insurance Agency. As stated in the brief, and as you well know, the eight corners rule applies to whether or not an insured should be defended and or indemnified. It is important to note whether or not Venture has to pay a judgment is separate from their right or their duty to defend Mr. Recogno. Under the eight corners rule, we only look at the pleadings and we only look at uh, the coverage contract between the parties. In this case, the pleadings, Mr. Recogno has been sued for a motor vehicle collision. The only thing that really addresses and the insurance coverage was denied by General Agency. Looking at the pleadings, Judge, the only real thing that they were denying him on, from what I can see, was the conclusory statement by the plaintiff that Mr. Herrera Recogno was being controlled and he was retained for employment purposes while he was driving. That's a conclusory statement that no other facts are really giving in the pleading. Nothing to say that he was on his way to a job or he was at a job or he was carrying materials for a job. It's just that conclusory statement. And really, I think ultimately the finder of fact will have to decide whether or not he was working in the course of his employment or not. It could be very well found by the trier of fact that Mr. Recogno wasn't working with the course of his employment. He could have been on his way to work. He could have been back on his way back from work. So there's that. So I don't think if you look at the actual complaint in the case, it's part of the motion for summary judgment. There's nothing in that which can exclude, besides that conclusory statement, which excludes it from the policy coverage. So we would argue that Mr. The Venture General Agency does have a duty to defend Mr. Recogno. Now, ultimately, again, if it turns out that he was working for his company at the time of the accident, they may not have to cover any sort of judgment against Mr. Recogno, but the duty to defend is there. I noticed in the counter motion for summary judgment into the reply, Venture Agency did say that discovery needs to happen in this case. I don't think it does. Again, by the eight corners rule, we're only looking at the pleadings and the policy in this case. So I don't think whether or not the a discovery is not an issue here. There was also a motion for continuance put within either the reply or their cross motion for summary judgment. And we would point out that I didn't see that that was verified. So I don't think a continuance should be granted in this case either. So again, Judge, we believe the duty to defend arose. And the allegations of the lawsuit are considered without reference to their truth or falsity, and without to what the parties know or believe to be true. So, looking at the single conclusory statement in the pleading, I would say that the duty to defend is there. That's all. Thank you.
Thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I think what opposing counsel said at the end is true. Allegations should be considered without the truth or falsity of the statement. That is what the Eight Corners Doctrine says. And the insurer's duty is based on the language of what's pled. And the insurance
What
company.
exactly is the exclusion here you're looking at? Is it that he was in the course and scope of his employment at the
It's
time?
actually, I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's actually a little bit broader than course and scope of employment, and I've included this specific language in our reply. It's a no business use endorsement, and that particular endorsement has been reviewed and allowed by the Texas Department of Insurance. And so it's not simply just was he in the course and scope, but were you using that vehicle for any business purpose? And it defines what a business purpose is.
So let's talk about in a situation where my sister has been a Lyft driver in the past. So if she ever uses her car for, and this is my understanding, her vehicle for Lyft, then just because she ever used it, then there would be no insurance coverage at any time, even if she hasn't been a Lyft driver in 6 months because she once used it to drive for Lyft, there would be no coverage.
I think you have to look at the specifics of the case, but I also think we filed a cross claim because I think the application also matters. When a person applies for insurance, they state at that time whether or not they were using this for a business purpose, which would include Lyft. The specific language says maintaining or using any vehicle for any business purpose. A business purpose includes, but is not limited to, and in your situation, it would be I don't even see courier or delivery service maybe, but the specific exclusion that I think applies in this one is transporting persons, equipment, or tools of the trade to or from a job site, or using any vehicle while employed or otherwise engaged in the business or occupation, including these following businesses: construction, courier, landscaping, painting, carpentry.
So if I take, so I guess according to your interpretation of, I have a work computer and I took it to the office yesterday to get the password updated to the courthouse. Because I transported my computer to the office, then there would be no insurance coverage for me at any point because I used my computer, I used my vehicle to transport my computer one time.
I think that's a little different because I think you aren't using your vehicle while engaged in a business or occupation for which that vehicle is being used. If that, and I think the specifics of this one: courier, delivery service, landscaping, painting, carpentry, food service. Those specific exclusions have to do with people who use their vehicles for businesses, for business purpose. A person who's a carpenter is putting things in their vehicle and they're driving from one job site to another job site. They might be self-employed. They might be.
But none of that's in the pleadings, right? There's no allegation about any of that in the pleadings.
The allegation is that they were using, that they were in the course and scope, or that they were employed by during the particular time
Is
period.
that what it says, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, but again, Judge, I think that's a very conclusory statement without any other evidence to consider in the motion for summary judgment. I mean, how do we know he was in the course and scope of his, or how do we know he was using that vehicle for a business purpose? I mean, it just says he was. I mean, it doesn't say he had lumber in the back. It doesn't say he had his hammers and tools. He doesn't say it was transporting employees. It doesn't say anything. It just, the plaintiff just said he was using it. That's all.
And Your Honor, to respond, I think you can't have it both ways. I mean, I don't think you can say you can only look at the eight corners without looking at any extrinsic evidence, while at the same time saying, yeah, but the petition was conclusory. I think then that would say that either additional discovery is needed to really figure this out, and then we can have a hearing after additional discovery is completed, or you would say that's what the petition says, that's what the pleadings say. There are some cases that allow extrinsic evidence in certain circumstances, the Chohan exception, but that's not applicable here. Chohan exception only applies if allegations aren't raised, if it is silent as to a particular purpose, for example, the date of the loss, things of that nature. Otherwise, you have to take at face value what the petition says. We're not allowed to get into all the background, the information, the statements that the insurance company dug into and looked at when they made this determination on their own of whether or not coverage should be afforded. We're not given that opportunity because that would be extrinsic evidence. What we have to look at is what's alleged, which is saying that he was in the course and scope of his employment with Top Sun Roofing. And that is something that exception specifically relates to. And so what the eight corners doctrine does is if there's no coverage, then there's no duty to defend. There's no duty to indemnify. If there is coverage, then potentially there's a duty to defend, and then the duty to indemnify would come up later. But in this case, our position is that either you should grant our motion for summary judgment in the affirmative, saying that as a matter of law, based on the eight corners, it says he was in the course and scope of his employment. The exception applies when he's in the course and scope of his employment with a roofer. Therefore, there's no coverage. Or in the alternative, grant a continuance of the hearing or allow for additional discovery if the court so decides that extrinsic evidence is necessary in this case.
So let's look at the exact exclusion. It says transporting persons. That's not equipment or tools or trades of the job site. That doesn't apply, right? That's not in the petition. Are using any vehicle while employed or otherwise engaged in any business or occupation, including but not limited to the following occupations or services: construction or courier, and it gives a number of others. Doesn't include a carpool. I just don't see how the language here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to deny defendant's motion, and I'm going to allow additional discovery for plaintiff's motion, because I don't think that what's pled fits clearly within that exclusion, but it may end up doing that. So get me an order on that, Mr. Thompson, that says that the defendant's motion is denied, that additional discovery will be allowed in this case on plaintiff's motion. What discovery would you like? You just wanted to take the plaintiff's deposition, right?
I think that would be necessary. And again, I think depending on the direction, I also think that, I think starting with the plaintiff's deposition should give us some information that would be needed.
Okay, at the beginning of that, Mr. Thompson, go ahead and say that this was heard on April 21st, 2025. All parties were present. It was off the hearing was off the record, and it was conducted on Zoom. And then share a copy of the order with Ms. Osborne. I want to make it clear that she's going to be allowed to take the plaintiff's deposition, and any other discovery with good cause shown on the summary judgment. All right. Anything else today, guys?
That was on the record, though, right, Judge?
Oh, that's right. It was on the record. You're correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. No other questions or anything to take up.
All right. And do you guys have, let me just double check something. Do you have a trial setting on this case?
I don't believe so. It just.
Oh, actually, you have a.
Yeah, we have a trial setting on the underlying case. So.
Oh, 4/7/2026. Okay. I thought this had just passed. Okay. No. You have a trial setting in 2026. All right, guys. You have a great rest of your day. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.